My name is Ben King. I'm an Iraq War veteran, and I helped create Mindful Memorial Day. Our mission is to honor all post 9/11 fallen warriors with a mindful moment of gratitude. We also hope to introduce the practice of mindfulness to the military community in a way that makes it very practical to them. And we also hope to help civilians find a deeper relationship with the military through the shared practice of mindfully honoring the fallen. The reason we're here is to make sure that all post 9/11 fallen warriors are acknowledged and remembered for Mindful Memorial Day. It all started in 2014, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to pull it off or not. The total number of fallen warriors since 9/11 in 2014 was 6,804, and so we got lucky and we had some support, and we were able to put up all those ribbons and honor names for just one day. And then the next year we honored names for 2 days, and then the year after that more, and the year after that more, and then now this is our 6th consecutive year, and the way we are honoring the fallen by hanging ribbons and using the language of a mindful moment, and then using this symbol, which I'll explain in a second, has now become part of other traditions around the country. So other people have started to create their own Mindful Memorial Days to honor the fallen with their fullest attention. What's really interesting about the symbol is it's twofold. So most people are familiar with the symbol of the firearm, and the symbol of the firearm originated in World War I. And what it was used for was just to mark the dead on these massive fields of battle. And so there would be countless dead, and so the stretcher bearers and the medics would come by, and when they'd see a warrior who had died, they'd stick his weapon in the ground, and that means that the people behind him would know that that warrior was dead. And so after World War I, it became known that this was a method, and then they started to do it again, and then it really kicked off in Vietnam. And so in Vietnam, they put all the pieces together, the helmet, the dog tag, and the boots, and that was when it really started to take on a significance of a fallen soldier. The symbol at the top, the incomplete circle, is a symbol that not as many people are familiar with and weren't familiar with at all in 2014, and that's the symbol for mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to completely focus your attention on something without being distracted. Now, it sounds easier than it is, but for the military community, the best way to understand mindfulness is through another word called marksmanship. So in the military, we're all trained to be highly focused and really mindful of safety around weapons. That's a very fundamental element of mindfulness. We're also trained with breath control. We're also trained with body control. These are all fundamentals of mindfulness. Well, most people didn't notice that, didn't see that relationship. So we saw it, and so now we've connected that relationship of giving something your undivided attention, just like in marksmanship, but giving something your undivided attention, only now we're giving our undivided attention to honoring a fallen service member. So the two symbols together, this, who we honor, how we honor them. We honor the fallen with our fullest attention. On the back of each ribbon is the name, branch of service, rank, hometown, date of death, and the operation that they served and died in. And so what we've done is we've created a ribbon for every service member that's died since 9/11, and this year, like I said, first year was 6,804. This year the total is 6,964. So it's an increase of over 100 in as many years. So we fix the names on the back, and then we give them away in a mindful moment. And it's a very powerful thing, because what it does is it creates all of this, and it's not just this program, but the whole space creates an opportunity for people to do what we call armor down, right? And so to armor down in a practical sense is to focus on one thing, release tension from your body, especially your jaw, and open your heart, right? And the reason you want to armor down, especially before you honor a fallen warrior, is because we all have something inside of us that's valuable. there's lots of names for it. I won't give it a name, I just want to acknowledge that it's there. And when we go to war, we're taught how to kind of armor up. We're taught how to protect ourselves. We're taught how to protect ourselves from fear, the enemy, from our emotions, so we can put the mission first, which is really important, right? Downrange. But when we come home and we stay armored up in our minds and in our bodies and in our tension, we're not open to the things that make life worth living. It's harder to feel things like gratitude, compassion. It's harder to find beauty in things like music and art. It's harder to make connections with other people. And it's really hard to manage what's going on inside of you emotionally and often what's going on in your head. So when we teach people how to armor down, the 3 parts, focus on one thing, that's perfect training for dealing with hypervigilance. Always being prepared for a threat, always anticipating threat, always working to stay safe. To focus on one thing and do it consistently is to tame that hypervigilant mind, to make it more quiet, okay? The next step is to release tension from the body. I came home with so much tension in my body that it always felt like I was being pulled backwards. It always felt like my stomach was collapsing in, and it always felt like my chest was wrapping around itself. And I had pain all the time. I didn't even notice it. It was just so integrated into my kind of sense of my life that I didn't even notice. And so I didn't sleep. I didn't feel comfortable ever. I was always moving and fidgeting. So to start practicing to release tension from your body helps to let some of that go. Okay? So the mind we address by focusing on one thing. Releasing tension from the body starts to address the musculoskeletal stuff. Opening the heart gets to the spirit. When you open your heart, you can kind of just think about it as just like imagining your heart wrapped up in the ribs and the armor of your muscles and so when you armor down and focus on one thing, release tension from the jaw, open the heart, maybe even take a deep breath. You imagine your heart opening. And you might start to feel something. For a lot of people I know it's a little uncomfortable to even think that, like open my heart. I don't want to do that. That's vulnerable. I don't want to open my heart. I gotta protect myself. But that's the thing. If you don't armor down, if you don't open your heart, if you don't let that thing that's inside of you out a little bit, connect to others, it's going to make life really hard to live. Life feeds you if you let it. But if you're armored up and you're locked down, you can't get that feedback. So you just got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's exhausting. It's going to mess you up. So if you can, allow yourself to armor down, go into that vulnerable space. And that's what this is all about. Like, for the hardcore warrior, it's okay to armor down when you honor a fallen warrior. It's okay to cry here. We see it all the time. We see these really tough, lots of leather-bound, muscled, ready to go, men, women, doesn't matter. They're ready. And they come in here, they see the name that they know in our list. And we say that name out loud and you just see it. You just see the boom. It just opens, right? And that opening, that's that spot, opening up. And for a lot of people, this is like the first time that happens. It's the first time in years that happens. And what we hope is that little spark, that little spark might be enough so that when the next time that warrior is confronted with another way to open their heart and armor down, whether it's through yoga like I did, or fishing, or hunting, or artwork, or music, or dance, which is you're about to see, whatever helps you armor down, right? Whatever helps you take that armor away from the heart and open up to the things that'll make life worth living. We hope that we can provide that little bit of a spark that helps people move off into the direction of the best version of themselves. We met Exit 12 through a man named Alan Sheldon. I met Alan Sheldon at the checkout line at Trader Joe's about 3-4 years ago. Alan has since created an organization called the Dadvocacy Consulting Group. And Alan saw a presentation by Exit 12 about veterans. And when he saw them, this was about 4 months ago, he was really inspired by their message and by the use of dance to connect people. And so he reached out to me and he's like, I'd really like to reach out to this Exit 12 and see if they'd be interested in creating a performance to honor Gold Star families and in particular fathers at Mindful Memorial Day in 2019. And I said, that's a great idea. Let's see if we can set it up. So Alan is the kind of guy that when he has an idea and he feels passionate about it, he goes after it. And he had a little bit of luck, and within about a week, we heard from Roman and Exit 12. They loved the idea. We had some conversations, and then before you knew it, we had a program that's going to be taking place in about 20 minutes right behind me in the theater, where we will see a program that has been choreographed by a young woman whose brother, after 2 deployments in Afghanistan, took his own life in 2016. He's buried here. And so as I mentioned earlier, you know, the healing process, it requires a moment of light to break through the armor. You gotta have that. You cannot heal while you are armored up. Trauma shuts things down. Grief and anger and frustration and sadness, they can shut things down. And so what we know that we've created here over the past 6 years is an opportunity for people to armor down and open their hearts to the things that make life worth living. And so what Exit 12 is going to do is create in kind of a mass group a theatrical performance through dance and story and music, an opportunity for us all to open up a little bit in the face of arguably the darkest kind of suffering. You know, the deepest, darkest moments of despair where everything feels like it's collapsing. It's the darkest, saddest place you could possibly imagine yourself going. And at the bottom of that place, I think is the darkness that exists in all of us. And if we don't do things that feed us through love and compassion and patience and connect us to other people, that dark place can seep out and start to take over. And I know that when you're in a place where all you do is you want it to end, and the notion that if I just end it, everything will be okay, that's the darkest kind of despair there is. And as a nation, we're facing that. We're facing a kind of despair that's taking the lives of not just veterans, but people from all walks of life. The suicide epidemic in America is devastating, and it's not getting any better. The only way we think we can kind of address it is to talk about it. And it's a tremendous testament to the courage of this young woman, Taylor, to be willing to talk about what it was like for her to go through something like this. And for her to be able to create something artistically that kind of shares her story in ways other than just by the use of language is an opportunity for all of us to take a moment to armor down, open our hearts to suffering, and then bring forth our goodwill, which is the definition of compassion. And so today, we're going to have that opportunity. We're going to meet suffering, the darkest kind of suffering there is, with our goodwill. And if we do it focused with our undivided attention, we'll do what compassion has done since the dawn of time, which is push the darkness back. It always does, and it always will. Because love, compassion, kindness, patience, and gratitude will always win. It's hard to notice that when you're in the darkest place. This performance will give us all this opportunity to armor down, open our hearts, and share with each other the things that make life worth living.